You gets it in for a right treat today. We're back in sand, ready to have a scrap with some of them spiky boys. And I know they've got a few things that'll make us very rich, full of teeth. So it's going to be a long one, folks. So you better get ready. It's going to be PC, played by Katla, the good old Plague Champ, versus FufuHunter's War Boss. Now, I have to say, Fufu, definitely the better player here. However, PC is an absolute nightmare for orcs. Probably the single best orc counter in the entire game. He's just insanely good. And the Warboss in particular, obviously he is more of a melee orientated orc. The PC is one of the best heroes in the game at dealing with melee. You got Touch and Nurgle, you got Blight Grenades, you got the Plague Sword, you got both of his armors. The tier 2 armor has an AoE knockback. The tier 1 armor has a super long AoE suppression. This hero is just so good against melee. It's just a problem, and the combined DPS of the CSM and the Plague Champion in tier 1 makes it very difficult for shooters to actually win any ranged engagements, especially when they're stuck in cover, these guys, healed by the heretics. So overall it's quite awkward. You do get a nice little bit of pressure early on with your War Boss because he's so tanky that the CSM of the Plague Champion can't deal with him before he gets into melee. While we're actually seeing fast Blight Grenades, there you go. Talking about Blight Grenades. If you land the Blight Grenades clean, you can wipe Orc Boys instantly. And honestly, it isn't that hard to land them clean. The Warboss is probably going to die here thanks to the damage over time. If this was any other hero, there's no way this level of ranged DPS would kill the Warboss. But because of the damage over time, it ignores the 80% resistance to range that you get whilst retreating. It just does full damage, just the damage over time, which is like a good proportion of his HP. See the Black Grenade go in there, gonna hurt the Slugger Boys. Don't know if he's gonna get a model, it didn't land clean. He does get a model, okay, it's 2, jeez. Oh, and then he spreads it to these guys, how annoying. Wow, yeah, you see the power of that damage over time. And of course the actual grenade itself when it explodes does do burst damage too, so... yeah, very frustrating though. But honestly, going for Blight Grenade first is not typical and not advised. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would recommend, if you're going to go for anything first other than another squad, get the Aspiring Champion on your Heretics. That would have a much better power spike. Because now Katla has the problem where he's outnumbered by the Orcs, and the Heretics, without their Aspiring Champion, basically lose 1v1 to everything. I mean, they can force off Shooter Boys, because melee units always beat similar costing ranged units, right? But it'd be difficult. Nice aiming what's that there to stop the CSM from being able to kite the power melee Storm Boys, forces them off very quickly. We do have one Aspiring Champion in. So now these guys can beat any of the Orc melee squads 1v1, assuming no buffs from the War Boss. This is a bit of an awkward engagement. The PC's got cover, the shooters are out in the open, I don't like this. But these are naked heretics, so they're going to get wrecked by the sluggers. They need their Aspirant Champion. I was going to say earlier, it's quite easy to hit your nades because you combine it with Doom Blast, but I don't know what that was from Katla. Completely missed there. Totally overthrew his grenade, even though the Slugger Boys were suppressed. So that was weird. And now really overstaying his welcome. I don't know why he didn't retreat sooner from the Plague Champion. A little bit lucky from Fufu that he managed to get a special and knock over the Plague Champion. But yeah, Katla facilitated that, should have been out ages ago. Painboy healing the Storm Boys? Oh, that's weird. Oh, I don't know why Fufu just retreated the Storm Boys there. That was very, very unnecessary. I assume he didn't realise that he had his Painboy out and that he'd send it over here. Probably just had the thing from the base where you set like a flag. So it spawned and ran over there and he didn't realise. Because obviously if he did, he would have just healed the Storm Boys and stayed in. He could have beaten up these very weak ticks quite easily in the CSM, but yeah, mistakes were made. Warboss has been repurchased, so Fufu has a very big army right now. One big shooter, no other upgrades, fair enough. Katla just the Blight Nade, the Aspiring Champion, and do we have Eternal War? No, we don't. You can tell if they got Eternal War because their guns start glowing and they get a plus icon above their heads. I don't like this attempt to cap the VP by Katla. Easy for the Warboss to run in, stomp them, knock them off, reset the cap, and then just kill them. Yeah, that wasn't going to work. Could have at least got a bit of chip onto the Warboss whilst he was fighting those ticks, but yeah. So Katla's going fast tier 2. Fufu now needs to capitalise on the fact that he has so many more squads than Katla, and just bash the gens. Sluggers will win this fight up here. Heretics do not beat default Sluggers if they're default themselves. A Doom Blast into a Blight Grenade could definitely turn this. Yeah. That was a better one. Yeah, if they didn't retreat, oh my god, they would have got wrecked. Even still losing 2 models. Might even lose another one in retreat, honestly. Yep. God. Yeah, Blight Grenades are so strong against Orcs. Now, when you get tier 2 and you start getting knobs, it's not quite as bad. At least you're not going to have your squad get wiped by the grenade, but it can still bleed you, you can still kill the boys. But when you get the Knob Leader on the Slugger boys, it increases the HP of the boys as well, so that'll be a huge help for Fufu, but unfortunately he's nowhere near that right now. He is getting the Gem Bash. A decent stomp, a little bit late actually, seemed to miss most of the ticks. So that's not ideal. Warboss should just go and tie up the CSM because he doesn't do a lot of DPS. Let the Storm Boys DPS down the ticks. Yeah, good play, good play. Now heal the Storm Boys and the Pain Boy. Oh no, heal has already been used. Okay, Storm Boys need to jump out because Touch of Nurgle has been used. Interesting choice to use the Ard Boys and keep them in play. A good choice because it made Katla want to pursue them and try and get the wipe, and it ended up wiping their heretics. There is a cooldown on the heal effect, well, on the actual explosion effect on Touch of Nurgle. So, Touch of Nurgle, when your model dies, it explodes, does huge damage, and it heals nearby allies. But it then goes on cooldown for like 4 or 5 seconds. So if your models die too quickly, you won't just trigger a chain reaction of explosions. It did that in retail, and it was absolutely ridiculous. With how fragile heretics are, you just make the heretics get low on HP, activate Touch Nurgle in melee, and it goes. You get 5 explosions, it just wipes the enemy squad. Absolutely outrageous that was. But yeah, it did get nerfed in Elite. So you can see there that the shooters, they focus fired that heretic squad with a Touch of Nurgle, and their DPS was so high it just ripped through them before the timer was up and they could actually trigger another heal from the Touch of Nurgle. So that was a fantastic engagement for Fufu in the end. Wiped a default heretic, not a big deal, but it's a wipe, and he actually took out 2 gens as well, so really, really nice, and maybe even took out 3, possibly. Fantastic little engagement there for Fufu. I'm sure that's going to have given him a lot of XP. We see level 2 Sluggers, level 2 Storm Boys, level 2 everything except the Pain Boy. Really nice engagement. Only, well, AC ticks and PC at level 2. CSM aren't there yet, but they will be soon. Map controls looking great for Fufu, obviously outnumbering his opponent quite well. And for the first time... No. I'm going to say for the first time the VPs are taking down for Katla. No, they're not. It's a 1-to-1 cap. Now, the problem for Fufu is there's a Chaos Dreadnought on the way. Already. And Fufu isn't tier 2 yet. But by the time the Chaos Dreadnought gets out, Fufu will be tier 2. So it's not too big of a deal. And honestly, Chaos Dreadnought... It's not too scary if you're a Warboss. You can get the Power Claw. You can beat up any ranged Dreadnoughts. And if he goes for a Mark of Khorne Dreadnought, well, you have Tank Busters, which are very mobile, anti-vehicle. A pretty good counter to the Khorne Dreadnought. Blight Grenades are putting in some good work here. Interesting use of Ard Boys. I wonder if he used that to make sure he survived if he retreated too slow. Interesting that he'd have the reaction time to drop the Ard Boys in time for the nade, but not be able to retreat. Okay, let's see what the Dreadnought can do. It's correct from Katla to focus the Shooter Boys first. Just ignore the Warboss and the Pain Boy. It'll take ages to kill them, and they can't at the moment do any damage to the Dreadnought. You want to use the Dreadnought whilst there's no anti-vehicle to just bleed the opponent as much as possible. Okay, we do see the Claw. So now you want to focus on the Warboss. You don't want to ignore him because he will actually do pretty good damage. But he's going to die. Really slow reaction there from Fufu. Treated his Warboss way too late. Gonna lose the Pain Boy if he doesn't retreat. Oh my god, super close. Will the range damage finish him off? Wow, really lucky. Again, very slow reaction there with retreating the Pain Boy. I think he clearly wanted to keep him on the field. And now tank busters at the front, that's not ideal. When your other troops in front, the tank busters are safe. These tank busters just get wrecked from the Chaos Dreadnought running into melee. And that is a pretty strong rout. CSM here do have their aspiring champion, so Fufu needs to be very careful. With a Dreadnought support, the aspiring champion is pretty good in melee. Better than other CSM. The CSM are already solid. Of course, if they've got the slaughter ability as well, they can swap to chainsaws and kick the shit out of these boys. No knobs, you see. Without the knobs, the Orc melee really can't fight these tier 2 upgraded CSM units. Snobbo's not retreating out. Oh no, Fufu, no. Jesus, that is so much bleed. Thank God he got the Storm Boy knob. The squad would be gone. But that is a lot of bleed. You can see the state of Fufu's economy right now. Now the Chaos Dreadnought's pretty low on HP. Probably doesn't want to fight against the Warboss here, especially with the Pain Boy here to help him. I would consider getting spiky armor for the Warboss. Gives him a really nice increase to his max HP, but also good HP regen. Oh no. Chosen Plague Marines have arrived. These guys, I wish they were Plague Bearers, just saying. Because they don't fight like Space Marines, they fight like fucking Plague Bearers. They're super tanky melee units that do damage over time in melee, and they've got an ability that has two effects. One, negates all HP regen, meaning it will even completely render the stronger Git source completely useless because it stops the HP regen effect of it, which is the main point of it. Secondly, any unit that is affected by the breath ability of these guys, when they die, they will spawn zombies that fight for you. And orcs obviously lose models quite quickly, and orcs do a lot of damage. So if you can get some zombie orcs all of a sudden in a big engagement, that can actually add a lot of DPS to your force, and then that causes more zombies. Yeah, it spirals out of control pretty quickly. Warboss needs to get out of here, I don't know what he's doing. Doesn't even have an armor upgrade, so running into Chosen Plague Marines in a melee and a Chaos Dreadnought in melee is just madness. These troops just do not have the damage to deal with all this shit. This is just too tanky. You know what? The Chaos Dreadnought with the autocannon is putting in such amazing work. I do think this is one of the best matchups for the default Dreadnought. That autocannon and bolter really does do some nice damage against the orcs. And the Chaos Dreadnought, even though it's in ranged mode, it does get 20% melee resist, unlike other ranged walkers. So we're going to see a Death Dread. Not a bad choice. Can tie up that Chaos Dreadnought. It will actually... I've been told it will beat a Chaos Dreadnought 1v1, a default Chaos Dreadnought. Though this one is now level 2, so that might change. Obviously it will depend on the Chaos Dreadnought shooting it on approach as well. So if you can get something else there, you should be pretty good. This is an upgraded Death Dread I'm talking about, of course, not the default one. But yeah, when you've got Tank Busters to support, the Death Dread will be able to handle this Chaos Dreadnought quite easily.
The boys need themselves a knob, they do.
So I think this could be a good way for Fufu to get back onto the field now. The Chosen Plague Marines do absolutely no AV damage, so the Death Dread can actually rip them up pretty easily. And Katla, of course, is opting to go to tier 3 here, so not going to have anything to counter this for a while. Could get the Power Fist on the Plague Champion, but he's too slow. Death Dreads are actually pretty damn speedy, especially with their ability. Okay, Katla's pushing for the Gen Bash. Fufu is grossly mispositioned here. CPM, Chosen Plague Marines, do actually bash gens very quickly. I mean, it's a precarious situation for Katla, potentially having to retreat through the Orc army, so correctly they reposition to the south prior to doing a full retreat. Touch and Nurgle. You're going to need Touch and Nurgle to win this engagement, Katla. I don't know if they have the red. They do. I don't know why they've not used it. That's not good. Yeah, and you see the combination of the Busters and the Death Dread will rip this Chaos Dread to pieces. Nicely done. That was a default Death Dread as well. You know, honestly, the Death Dread is such an underrated vehicle. It's a really solid walker. Amazing special attack you're about to witness. Boom! Really good damage on these tanky Nurgle boys. Level 3 CSM, jeez. I love how all the melee is just avoiding the slow-ass Chosen Plague Marines, which is definitely a good idea. You don't want to fight them in melee with Orc melee. You gotta pew-pew them with your shooters. Get your Death Dread in there. God, that special attack. Definitely gonna be some Death Sluggers here. Yeah. Yikes. Death Dread needs to get back for some repairs. This is getting a bit dangerous. Especially given that he can't see what else Katla's getting. I don't know if he's seen that Katla's gone to tier 3. You know, you can look over here and see the two things here on the back that indicates they're tier 3. Damage from the fully upgraded Zinch Space Marines actually hurting the Death Dread a little bit. They don't do AV, but they do loads of damage. And the Aspiring Champion, you can see he's got that pink gun. It's a plasma gun. Plasma is okay against vehicles. It's not a counter, but it will do chip. And this guy's so low that that's enough to scare him off right now. The Chosen Plague Marines carry plasma pistols as well, so that can actually do a little bit of chip as well to the Death Dread. So you got to be careful engaging them. You don't want to engage them with too little HP, or if you try to run away, you will get killed by the pistols. Heretics running into the Stormboys here is really quite bizarre. Okay, touch the Nurgle. Honestly, I don't even know if that's going to be good enough. Okay, CSM are coming over too, that's fine. I don't know why Fufu used your choppers there in the first place, because the Stormboys would have won that fight anyway, had the ticks not used touch of Nurgle. But if the ticks use touch of Nurgle, then your use your choppers is redundant because you're going to lose the fight in spite of it. So that was a bit of a mistake, not a huge deal, but a little bit. Oh my god, look at these Chosen Plague Marines. Does actually manage to kill one of them with the unstable fuel injection from the Pain Boy, but they still force off the entire blob, which is not ideal. However, Katla's just so few in units that, in spite of it all, Fufu is winning on the map control now. Fufu is now roughly 100 up in VPs. This Plague Marine's Plague Champion is waddling around very slowly with his Armour of Pestilence. Reduces his speed but gives him plus 500 max HP and gives him that AoE knockback ability that charges when he takes damage. So it's a good armor, but right now I don't know if that's the time and place for it. Katla really needs capping power. But I guess Katla's got their mind on another thing, because they've gone tier 3 for something. I don't know what. They've only got one gen. They've got a nice bank of power, 127 at the moment, but if they lose this power farm, then they've basically got one choice in tier 3 before they run out of power. So it needs to be a good choice. Looking at the composition, I was going to say, you might as well stick with your Nurgle theme, because Nurgle kicks Orc ass. Nurgle Predators, pretty fantastic against Orcs. That said, this Death Dread's really a pain in the ass. And Nurgle Predators, they do amazing anti-infantry damage. Their cannon shots leave a damage over time, and their bolters get the damage over time like the Plague Champion. But it makes the cannon way weaker, so it actually isn't very good against the Death Dread. We'll see. I think a Khorne Predator might actually even be a better choice right now. You've got so many other tanky units to just tank up front and distract the enemy, and then the Khorne Predator can just zoom in and do really good damage. And that actually, the upgrade to the Mark of Khorne gives the cannon 25% more damage, whereas you literally lose damage with the Nurgle autocannon. Certainly against vehicles. I like the sync kill on the zombie. Okay, just a naked Predator so far. We're at the busters, they're nowhere to be seen, they're in the base, so the Predator can just force off all of this. And right now it can just chase down the Death Dread. Should be using the Hold Fire command to make sure that it doesn't waste any cannon shots on the shooters. Looks like Katla is. Very nice play, Katla. Good to see that. Oh, if you can take out this Death Dread right now, that'd be so strong. Come on, Katla. You've got this. You can micro your tank. That's it. CSM go forward. Rip those busters to pieces. Yep. Goodbye. Kill this Death Dread. And then once the Death Dread's gone, they can go for the Nurgle Predator quite easily. And they'll be in a very good position. Okay, yeah, brilliant. That Death Dread was an absolute nuisance for Katla. Gonna feel very satisfied taking that out, I can imagine. However, Fufu has actually managed to get tier 3 themselves. I wonder what they're going to get. Probably, I was going to say probably not a looted tank, but actually, now I think about it, it's a perfectly fine idea, because again, if they go for Nurgle Predator, which does wreck everything in the Orc army right now, will not be very good against the looted tank. And the looted tank can actually probably beat a Nurgle Predator 1v1. Even if it can't just like stand there and have a 1v1, it's got better burst damage, so it can move in and out and poke the Nurgle tank to death over time. The other problem that Katla has right now is they have no power. So yeah, they were saving up for that oh god, 40 power for the Nurgle tank. That is pretty damn expensive. Yeah, that's a problem when Katla literally has only 24 power income per minute. They really need to get more gens up. So Nurgle Predator's here. Like I say, it loses damage on its cannon, but it gets damage over time on the cannon. An AoE damage over time. And then they get normal damage over time on the bolters. So the infantry killing potential is huge. You also get full melee resist on your tank, though it is slower. So it's kind of even against melee, because it's easier for melee to catch it and do damage because it's slower. And that's why it gets the melee resist, so it's not weak to melee. And it gets way more HP, 75% extra HP, and it also regenerates in combat. So it's a tanky tank, which is funny because in Dawn of War 2 you don't normally get tanky tanks. 850 on the looted tank, 1225 on the Cursed Predator. Yeah, you see the slow speed of this tank will mean that he will actually take significant damage from the War Boss. But wow, that is a lot of focus fire. This War Boss really needs upgrades. Really needs upgrades. And the damage over time from the Plague Bolters on that tank should be able to kill the War Boss. Yep. War Boss for Fufu really not achieving much today. Really not achieving much at all. Just needs upgrades on him. You know, at this point he's in tier 3, you could get the heavy armor. Yeah, you can't keep him alive, but you've got no regen. And against all this damage over time, you really need regen to counter it when you're retreating. Or you have to retreat super, super, super early. Got a bit of a tank duel here. Both sides are going to take a very long time to kill one another. But I think Fufu would have gained a lot from getting spiky armor earlier in this game, and obviously now you wouldn't get it, you get the heavy armor instead, it's just a better upgrade. Still gives you good HP regen, but gives you way more max HP. Ticks coming out, a little bit of repair and worship support for the Predator. Nurgle worship does actually heal vehicles, but due to the way the healing works, where the Nurgle worship heals 3.5 HP per second per model to infantry, the worship heal is not very strong compared to just repairing. I mean, the worship heal is 3.5 per second, whereas repairing is 10. But nice little position here with the Lascannon, actually takes out the looted tank. Very questionable micro of the Heretics though. I have no idea why they were running forward like that, perhaps to get vision for the Lascannon, but really unnecessary to lose them there. And there's not too much to deal with this Nurgle Predator right now. Busters are in the back, but they can't 1v1 it, it's got too much HP, unless it shows rear armor, or unless it doesn't focus fire them. Yeah, Chosen Plague Marines need to move forward, they can just tie up the tank busters. Look at the plasma pistols from the Chosen Plague Marines, really solid. Not even their intended target, they're firing at light infantry, and plasma does reduce damage to light infantry. Stormboys are still here, I didn't even notice. Running around with 2 models, just capping. Blight Grenade thrown down on the floor. Honestly, it doesn't do that much. Stormboys you see at this point level 3. Too much HP on them. And they do a good job, the 2 boys, forcing off the Plague Champion there. Now can get on the cap. Ad Boys was used again to try and tank that Blight Grenade. I wonder how much of a difference that actually made. Surely that wouldn't have been necessary. Who knows? So the heretics have to get replaced to heal the tank. I mean, it is regenning slowly, but yeah, it's a slow regen. It's nice because it's a permanent regen. You know, you're getting that in combat and stuff, which is pretty awesome, but still going to be a damn long time till that tank's at full HP without repairs. How slow it is. Still, great tank. So we got knobs on the field now. They got their knob leader. I don't know if they've got their meaner and greener, but I did see they've got some sort of surgery from the pain boy. I don't know what the surgery is. Doesn't look like the speed surgery because they seem to be moving pretty standard speed to me. So maybe it was their health or the damage. Can't really tell either if their health's any different to normal. What do they have at level 1 with a knob leader normally? I feel like nearly 5k at level 1 does seem quite high. Don't know though. So you can't use your heal from the paintboy and the knobs because of the Nurgle's rot from the Chosen Plague Marines. But you can use your choppers. Got some zombie knobs spawning, tying up the shooters. And the knobs are very, very low. I don't know if they've been healed. The knobs, okay. He uses Cod Boys. I thought that was what was going to happen, but wow, did he cut that close. What's going on down here? Oh, CSM's still around. Level 4 CSM. Okay. What are the Knob Squad attacking? Oh, the Plague Champion, who is now getting his Power Fist. So a little bit more anti-melee, I suppose. 2-to-1 cap for Katla, but only 107 VPs for Katla, whereas it's 270-ish for Fufu. Chosen Plague Marines and the Nurgle tank have been amazing. Absolutely amazing. Look at those bolters, man. Bleeding the Orc like crazy. Successful defense of the VP there. Good old Nurgle tank. As I say, imagine if he didn't kill the Death Dread. That thing was still running around, flipping the Chosen Plague Marines around. You just use it to keep one side of the map as well. Obviously, you can't cap a VP if the Death Dread's there. And Katla's only AV right now. Well, he's got the las cannon, but it's slow. It's quite easy to flank a las cannon with a Death Dread. I wonder what the best protocol would be for Fufu next. Let's have a look at the pop. 73 pop for Fufu, 74 for Katla. In this sort of situation as a PC, often you would start building turrets and place them in positions for your tank to fall back to. But you can't really build turrets when the enemy has tank busters because they can just kill the turret instantly with tank buster barrage. So that's a nice trick that the Orcs have. Negates one of the PC's best late game strategies. Same thing with shrines. You could build shrines, heal up your CSM, your CPM, but it's a bit pointless because tank busters can just use that barrage and kill it instantly. It's a waste of resources. So that's frustrating. At least Orcs have that going for them, I suppose. What is he gonna get? Gonna reinforce. Okay, places War Boss. That makes sense. I like that choice. He really needs to get the armor on it though, like I've been saying all game. So he needs to save up next for that heavy armor. Probably meaner and greener, the charge ability. Having the charge against this Nurgle tank would be great. You can put a lot of pressure on it because it's so slow, and the charge also gives you a damage boost afterwards, so you can mitigate a lot of the resistance he'll get from his melee resist. Oh, Nob's taking crazy damage here from the TCSM. Get a nice heal from the Painboy, but back off because they don't want to just have that negated by the Nurgle's Rot. They don't want to be fighting the CPM in melee anyway. That's just not a good fight. It'll take too long to kill them, the damage over time will stack up, and then the ranged units here from Nurgle will be able to really hurt the Nobs. So yeah, all of the 4 units here from Fufu forced off pretty soundly. You need your shooters really around there to try and deal with the CPM, and then just move the rest of your melee through. Warboss get on the tank, Nobs deal with the CSM and then the tank. Or just send the Painboy, tie up the CSM and the Nobs on the tank. And now there's bloody Chaos Terminators as well, and they're getting Lightning Claws. Oh, this is going to be bad for Fufu. I think Fufu is in a terrible position compositionally now, and I'm not sure what he can even do about it. It's like everything he can get seems kind of bad. Oh, he wiped the Havocs. Scratch that, he has to get a looted tank. Fufu needs a looted tank. Not that that's going to make him have a superior composition, I don't think it does, but it's the best option still. So here we go, look at all this tanky Nurgle melee. Absolutely beautiful Nurgles rot there. Affecting the busters, the shooters. Warboss got wrecked again. Nobs are now in melee with the CPM and the Lightning Claw Terminators. Lightning Claw Terminators proccing specials, send them flying. AC Ticks move in, force off one of the shooters. AC Ticks can now force off the secondary shooter. Shooters do manage to get rid of the Chosen Plague Marines, but man, that is a sound victory for Katla. I think Fufu is really struggling to break this compositionally. And it's tough, yeah. I mean, like I said at the start of the game, PC is a nightmare for Orcs. All these Nurgle units are just a pain in the ass. The Orcs just don't have the durability, and Orcs are renowned for having the highest damage in the game. But these Nurgle troops, man, they can just shrug it off and bleed them. Bleeding with the Nobs here, not really ideal. Taking crazy damage from the Tzeentch Marines. Katla always plays PC, so it's not like it's an intentional counter pick, that's just what Katla plays. Yeah, and I say that from having watched their 3v3s. See, this is good. The Painboy gets in on the CSM and ties them up. You ignore the CPM, which aren't even here. Well, you ignore the Terminators. You just get the Nobs on the Predator. I guess the problem here is there's really nothing to kill the Terminators. And at this point the Predator is accruing more and more XP. And this thing, oh my god, with that 75% extra HP buff, well that stacks with the HP that they gain per level. So you get 75% more HP per level with a Mark of Nurgle. So as this thing starts leveling up, it starts getting a bit out of control. You know, Fufu's already struggling to kill it. Well, wait till it hits level 3. That's even more HP. Might even get HP regen. I know infantry get better HP regen when they level up. I don't know about vehicles, since normally they don't even have any regen. Probably not. Level 3 tank, nearly 1500 HP on this bitch now. That's pretty nuts for a vehicle armor unit. That's like approaching super unit level of tankiness. I mean, this just kind of looks like desperation now. Why is a Painboy just capping a requisition point in front of all this? Doesn't make any sense. Fufu is clearly just at a loss as to what to actually do here. And I mean, honestly, there's not really a whole lot he can do. I mean, he needs to avoid engagements and he needs to get a looted tank, but... oh my god, touch and Nurgle on the CSM, Jesus Christ. But they should still lose. No need to retreat the Nobs there. They don't do any DPS in melee. The touch and Nurgle explosions are not going to kill the Nob squad. And Fufu just goes straight for the VP. You're not on like 5 VPs yet, mate. Just force off the ticks and then take the VP. Because you can't cap now. If you can't just sit there and cap. The AC ticks attacking you. Weird. I think the mental has been lost on Fufu here at this point. He's just sort of mindlessly moving forward, kind of thing. Painboy should just abandon this and cap the point. God, the Chosen Plague Marines. Ah, man, I'd love if these guys were Plague Bearers. They really fight like Plague Bearers, and it'd be awesome to give them the extra regen when you worship them. Make them like the ultimate counter-initiation tool. You could even give them reduced normal regen, you know. They have this high regen right now because they're Plague Marines. We'll take that away and just let them regen when they worship. That'd be sick. I'd love that. It'd give them more of a niche as well compared to Bloodletters.
You know the thing.
Like, they really would be the ultimate counter-initiation unit. And it's cool that Nurgle would have a better counter-initiating demon than the Chaos Lord or the Chaos Sorcerer. Because Nurgle obviously defends better than them too. And that is the end of it. Fufu can't actually get into the VPs. I mean, I feel like that game was over a very long time ago. Fufu sort of mentally capitulated. He obviously had an inferior composition. And Raider Phobos on the way, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Katla just wasn't bleeding at all. But yeah, I think there were definitely ways that Fufu could have ratted his way around it. He always had more units than Katla. Certainly Fufu throwing away his war boss this game so many times was not good at all. I mean, how many times did he lose the war boss? Maybe 4 times or something? Needed spiky armor in the early game, I think. And just some of them early engagements against the Chaos Predator I think could have been handled a lot better. And he would have had a chance of taking it out. Once this fucker hits level 3, and you've got level 4 Plague Marines, and you've got Terminators with Lightning Claws guarding it, good luck. But yeah, that was a long one. Hope you guys did enjoy a bit of that crazy Orc versus Plague Champion action. Always brutal, usually more so for the Orc side, but always fun to watch. That is all from your boy Torpid for today. Signing out.